the silent, had grown up in a quiet suburb of Beijing, in a house where rules were like walls, high, unshakable, absolute. Her parents believed in discipline, in tradition, in honor. There had been no dating, no whispered secrets shared with boys after class, no stolen kisses in the dark. Her future had been scripted: study, achieve, succeed, and one day marry a man chosen with the family's blessing. But when she turned 20, everything shifted. She won a scholarship to study law in Europe. Her parents had encouraged it, trusting her to remain the dutiful daughter they had raised. Only Europe was not Beijing. Here, students laughed loudly on the streets at night, disappearing into clubs filled with neon light and music that pulsed like a heartbeat. Couples kissed openly at the tram stops, fingers tangled together without shame. Lian watched them, her stomach tight with an ache she couldn't name. She told herself she didn't belong in that world. She stayed in the library on Friday nights, clutching her textbooks like shields. Yet loneliness grew around her like fog. It was during one of those long evenings that she met Adrien. He was seated across from her in the quiet study hall, sketching in a notebook instead of reading. His eyes, when they lifted to meet hers, were the color of twilight, steady, curious. He smiled, a slow and easy curve, and she felt her cheeks warm before she quickly looked away. The next day, he sat beside her. Soon he was walking her home. Soon they were talking about things she had never dared speak aloud: her fears, her longing for freedom, her confusion between duty and desire. Adrien listened, not with judgment, but with the patience of someone who saw her not as the disciplined Chinese girl, but simply as Lian. When he touched her hand for the first time, she almost pulled away. But his fingers lingered, soft and certain, and she didn't move. That night, when he kissed her, she trembled as if 1,000 forbidden doors had been opened at once. Their love unfolded in secret, soft, intoxicating. They danced in his apartment to music she barely understood, her body swaying against his as his breath traced her neck. She had never known such closeness, never felt desire flood her so powerfully. Every kiss felt like rebellion, every whispered word like freedom. Daughter her parents had raised, and the woman she longed to become. But storms come quietly, then all at once. One evening, after class, Lian decided to surprise Adrien. She climbed the stairs to his flat, her heart light, her lips rehearsing the words she had never dared say. "I love you." The door was ajar. She pushed it open softly and froze. Adrien was not alone. On the couch, her best friend Sophia leaned into him, their mouths pressed together, their bodies tangled with a hunger that left no space for air. Adrien's hand traced Sophia's waist, the same hand that had once held Lian like she was something fragile and sacred. The world tilted. Her chest burned with anger so sharp it felt like it might split her apart. She wanted to scream, to burst into the room and claw away the betrayal. But she didn't. Instead, she stayed in the shadows, her breath shallow, her body trembling. And then something strange happened. As she watched them, the fury tangled with something darker, more bewildering. She felt her jealousy curl into a strange kind of fascination. Her heart pounded not only with hurt, but with desire she couldn't deny. Every kiss, every gasp she witnessed mirrored her own memories. His mouth on hers, his touch along her skin. Yet now it was Sophia who received it, and somehow the sight of it left her dizzy, caught between rage and longing. She hated it. She wanted more. Her imagination blurred with the reality before her. She pictured herself in Sophia's place, then imagined them both together, Adrien's arms circling them. The betrayal became a mirror of her own hidden fantasies, the kind she had never allowed herself to name. When she finally slipped away, unnoticed, her cheeks were wet, not only with tears of grief, but with something she didn't understand. That night, lying in her narrow bed, she replayed the scene again and again. At first, it broke her, but later, the memory transformed. She saw it differently, not only as an act of betrayal, but as an awakening of a secret part of herself. She realized desire could be messy, complicated, tangled with jealousy and curiosity. She realized love wasn't a straight path of loyalty and tradition. It was a storm, wild and unpredictable. And in that storm, Lian discovered not only her pain, but her power. The storm within. After slipping out of Adrien's apartment unnoticed, Lian walked through the quiet streets, the night damp with lingering rain. Her heart was a storm in itself, thrumming with a wild mix of betrayal, fascination, and a deep, unnameable longing. Every step echoed against the empty cobblestones, yet her mind was crowded with images she couldn't forget. She stopped at a small fountain, the water glistening like scattered diamonds. Hands pressed to her face, she let herself breathe, though each inhale carried a tension she could not release. The scene replayed relentlessly. Adrien's fingers on Sophia's waist, the way her friend had leaned in as if she belonged to him, and the slow, intimate movements that left no room for Lian's heart to remain untouched. At first, it was rage. She clenched her fists, imagining herself storming in, tearing them apart. But the anger was not enough. It faded into something stranger, more vivid. Her chest tightened, not with hatred, but with a secret, delicious ache. Her mind blurred reality with imagination. She pictured herself in Sophia's place, the softness of Adrien's lips, the warmth of his hands tracing her curves, the way he had always made her feel cherished, alive, free. But then her fantasy shifted further. She imagined them together, Adrien and Sophia, and herself watching, feeling a shiver of intense curiosity mingling with her pain. She imagined reaching out, touching, intertwining, her boundaries dissolving into desire she had never allowed herself before. The sensation startled her. How could betrayal feel like awakening? How could hurt be so entwined with longing? She shook her head, but the images would not leave. Every memory of her closeness with Adrien, the whispered words, the stolen kisses, the warmth of dancing together in his apartment, mingled with the fantasy, creating a tension she could not name. And yet, she was not afraid. Not entirely. In fact, for the first time, she felt the vast complexity of her own heart. Love could be tender and wild, sweet and painful, faithful and daring all at once. Adrien's betrayal, instead of breaking her, had opened a door she had never known existed, a room in her mind where desire and imagination could roam freely. Lian sat at the fountain for what felt like hours, letting the night wash over her. Tears mingled with rain on her cheeks, but she smiled faintly to herself. She realized that desire was not wrong, that longing could be honest even when the world, or tradition, said it shouldn't exist. She realized she could hold anger, fascination, grief, and erotic curiosity all at once. By the time she returned to her dorm, her mind was alive with new possibilities. Adrien and Sophia had awakened something deep inside her, not only fantasies she had kept buried, but a profound understanding of herself. Love, she now knew, was never simple. Desire was never simple. And for the first time, she felt she could navigate both with courage, without shame. That night, lying in the quiet darkness, Lian closed her eyes. She imagined dancing again, only this time the dance was her own, free, unrestrained, alive. And somewhere, in the distance, she felt Adrien's presence still warm, still potent, not as possession, but as a mirror to her own awakening. Her fantasies had shifted, yes, but so had she. In the wake of betrayal, she had discovered not only the depth of her desire, but the strength of her heart, and the power to embrace every contradiction that came with it. For Lian, the storm had passed, but its echoes remained, a thrilling, intoxicating knowledge that love, desire, and self-discovery could be as complex and beautiful as the night sky after rain.